Gaza, ceasefire and hostage negotiations, progress and challenges. Flashpoint Season 2, Episode 5. The ceasefire in Gaza is still a critical focus in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict as of February 27, 2025. Hamas released the bodies of 4 Israeli hostages, Itzhak Elgarat, Sachi Idan, Ohad Yahalomi, and Shlomo Mansour, as part of the first phase of the ceasefire agreement. In exchange, Israel has released over 600 Palestinian inmates. A second phase of negotiations is underway, aiming to secure the release of the remaining 59 hostages held by Hamas. However, it is believed that fewer than half of them are still alive. Join me as I explore the complex situations unfolding in Gaza and challenge myself to make sense of the chaos and its implications for our future. I would like to clarify that I am not a journalist, professional, or business entity. I simply find world events intriguing, and I have created social videos as a platform to discuss them with others. Your interactive involvement in the discussion and comment section is appreciated. I conduct online research and reference the Holy Bible and, in some cases, the Quran for my Middle East videos, as these 2 books hold religious significance for many, including the Israelites and Palestinians. The continuation of the ceasefire is in limbo. While he has not committed to a permanent cessation of hostilities or a full troop withdrawal from Gaza, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has expressed his determination to extend the truce to ensure the release of all hostages. I feel that if Israel is going to release so many Palestinian prisoners for the hostages, they should just do an all-for-all. All Palestinian prisoners for the release of all hostages. Although a short-term extension is possible, significant barriers stand in the way of a settlement, according to diplomatic sources. Approximately 10,000 Palestinians are incarcerated in Israel now. Interestingly, over 1/3 of individuals have not been tried, raising serious human rights concerns. Reports from such sources as B'Tselem and Hamak highlight systemic brutality and poor living conditions in these detentions. Israel's main goal in the Gaza conflict has been to end Hamas's rule. Despite killing key Hamas leaders and destroying tunnels, Israel lacks a political plan to replace Hamas. Without this, Hamas may try to regain control. The infrastructure of Hamas has experienced severe damage due to actions by the Israel Defense Forces, IDF. More than 130 subterranean shafts have been destroyed, leading to a reduction in the group's operational capabilities. Despite this, reports suggest that approximately 25,000 combatants are still active, even though the organization has lost between 6,000 and 7,000 members. In conclusion, even though Israel has made considerable progress in undermining Hamas's political and military institutions, establishing a lasting peace in Gaza is hampered by the lack of a workable alternative government plan. The situation is made more difficult by the humanitarian concerns surrounding Palestinian captives, which highlight the conflict's complexity and the difficulties in finding a solution. The Israel Defense Forces, IDF, have destroyed more than 130 tunnel shafts, significantly impairing Hamas's infrastructure and capacity. Despite losing between 6,000 and 7,000 members, many of Hamas's 25,000 combatants stay active. While Israel has made noteworthy progress in Hamas's political and military institutions, setting up lasting peace in Gaza is hindered by the absence of a practical, alternative government plan. The situation is further complicated by the humanitarian concerns surrounding Palestinian captives. which highlight the conflict complexity and the difficulties in finding a resolution. Highlighting the conflict's complexity and the difficulties in finding a solution. Concerns about Palestinian captains' human rights are serious and multifaceted. Here are a few critical issues. Arbitrary detention. Under administrative detention orders that are subject to indefinite renewal, many Palestinian inmates are detained without being or given a trial. The legitimacy and fairness of their confinement are seriously in question by this practice. The practice of holding someone without charge or frequently under administrative detention orders is subject to indefinite renewal, known as arbitrary detention. Because it bypasses the judicial system and deprives detainees their right to a fair trial and legal counsel, this practice is especially troubling. Although detention lacks accountability, it is often justified on security grounds. There are significant questions about the fairness of detainees' custody, since many are detained based on confidential evidence that they are unable to contest. Erosion of trust. Arbitrary incarceration can erode public confidence in the government, increasing animosity and anger. International condemnation. Human rights organizations and others may condemn countries that engage in detention practices. Radicalization. Prolonged incarceration without trial and a lack of due process cause detainees and their communities to become radicalized, raising the possibility of violence. Torture and maltreatment. Reports from groups like UN Rights and Amnesty International highlight instances of torture and inhumane treatment of prisoners, such as waterboarding, harsh beatings, and other cruel, inhuman, and degrading acts. Reports from organizations such as the UN Human Rights Office and Amnesty highlight instances of torture and treatment of prisoners. Human law, the Convention Against Torture and Other Cruel, Inhuman, or Degrading Treatment or Punishment, CAT, prohibits torture and cruel treatment. Such actions not only violate the rights of detainees, but also undermine the rule of law and the legitimacy of the legal system. Potential outcomes. Legal repercussions. Under international law, those who act of torture and other cruel treatment may be prosecuted and punished. Due process is a cornerstone of justice that needs fair treatment within the standard legal system. Without access to adequate judicial review or legal counsel, many detainees are kept incommunicado. International human rights norms, such as those included in the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, ICCPR, are violated by this lack of due process. Detainees are entitled to a fair trial, access to legal representation, and notification of the charges against them. Potential outcomes. Rights violation. Detainees' rights to a fair trial and legal counsel are violated when due process is not. Compromising the justice. The validity and credibility of the legal are compromised when due process is not followed. International advocacy. Human rights groups advocate for detainees' rights by urging changes to the law, increase transparency in the court system. Substandard living conditions. Detention facilities often have poor living conditions, including overcrowding, inadequate medical care, and insufficient access to necessities, such as foodological impacts on detainees, contributing to the spread of diseases, malnutrition, and mental health issues. Substandard living conditions violate international human rights standards, including the standard minimum rules for the treatment of prisoners, Nelson Mandela rules. I would like to ask that if you are enjoying this video and others like it, please hit the thumbs up and subscribe. Remember to ring that bell so you will know when I release a new video. It only takes a few seconds and it would help me a lot. Potential outcomes. Health issues. Poor living conditions can lead to severe health issues among detainees, including the spread of infectious diseases and mental health disorders. Humanitarian concerns. Humanitarian organizations may raise concerns and call for improvements in the living conditions of detainees. Pressure for reform. International pressure and advocacy may push authorities to implement reforms and improve detention conditions. Deaths in custody. There have been reports of detainees dying in custody due to mistreatment or inadequate medical care. These concerns highlight the urgent need for reforms to ensure that the rights of Palestinian detainees are respected and protected by international human rights law. UN report on Palestinian detainees. Amnesty International report on Palestinian detainees. Military operations and their impact. In the Gaza Strip, the Israel Defense Forces, IDF, have conducted many combat operations targeting Hamas's infrastructure. These have severely damaged Hamas's operational capability and caused severe damage to crucial infrastructure. Over underground tunnels used by Hamas for smuggling personnel, weapons, and other supplies have been successfully demolished by the IDF. Additionally, several senior Hamas leaders have been unlifed because of Israel's military actions, significantly undermining the organizations. Hamas has proven remarkably resilient in the face of these setbacks. Despite losing between 6,000 and 7,000 members, most of its 25,000 fighters are active, according to reports. Hamas's ability to continue its activities despite severe casualties shows how firmly set up it is in Gaza and the challenges Israel faces in completely dismantling the group. Challenges to lasting peace. In conclusion, even if Israel has made considerable progress in undermining Hamas's political and military institutions, several obstacles still stand in the way of a lasting peace. Lack of alternative governance. A major obstacle is the absence of a workable alternative governance plan for Gaza. Although Israel's main goal has been to overthrow Hamas, the organization risks regaining dominance in the area if there is no clear and practical political plan to replace it. Humanitarian concerns. The situation is further complicated by humanitarian concerns about Palestinian detainees. Currently, there are 10,000 Palestinian inmates in Israeli prisons, with nearly one-third of them having not been tried, raising human rights issues. Reports from organizations such as Beatlim and Amok highlight systemic brutality and poor living conditions in these detention centers. Ongoing hostilities. The future of the ceasefire stays uncertain. While Israeli Benjamin Netanyahu has not committed to a halt in hostilities or a complete withdrawal of troops from Gaza, he has expressed his intention to extend the truce to secure release of hostages. Diplomatic sources show that significant obstacles stay to achieving lasting peace, although a short-term extension of the ceasefire is possible. Rehabilitation and reconstruction. The damage to Gaza's infrastructure during the conflict has caused major rehabilitation and reconstruction efforts. Restore the area and provide humanitarian relief to the affected population. The support of the international community will be crucial. Concluding remarks. Due to the complexity of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict and the challenges in resolving it, a comprehensive and strategic approach is needed. Despite Israel's significant military victories, addressing humanitarian issues, developing a practical strategy for Gaza's governance, and ensuring the protection and observance of Palestinian detainees' rights are all essential steps toward achieving sustainable peace. In conclusion, while Israel made considerable progress in undermining Hamas's political and military institutions, setting up a lasting government in Gaza is hindered by the absence of a practical alternative government plan. The situation is further complicated by humanitarian concerns surrounding Palestinian captives, the conflict's complexity, and the challenges of finding a resolution.